Good morning and welcome to Retirement UTV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Brian Quaranta, otherwise known as Brian Q, President and Founder of Secure Money Advisors. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you again.
It's great to see you again as well. I love our time together because it's just amazing, just the information that you're providing to the viewing audience. The response has been really amazing.
Well, it's important that people get good information, accurate information.
Sure.
You know, so that they can make good decisions about their retirement planning.
Sure.
And I think, you know, the challenge in today's environment is there's just so much noise in the marketplace. You know, and there's so many different opinions out there. I mean, you know, there's more advisors today than there's ever been. You know, we do a lot of educating in the community at the local libraries and colleges, and you know, I think most people could probably find an event somewhere in their area, whether it be at a restaurant or a college or a library. And you know, so what happens is you might go to a number of different events and you're getting a lot of different opinions, and again, there's just a lot of noise. So people are it's hard for them to decipher what's good for them and what's not good for them. So it's more important than ever that people have a good resource that they can go to, and that's really our goal here at Secure Money Advisors, is to be that #1 resource for the community so that people are getting accurate information so they can make these good decisions that they need to make.
Absolutely. And Brian, your passion has always been educating your client base. So tell me, where does that drive come from?
Well, I just think that for me, if I just look at my own life, you know, and I just take, for example, whether it be an accountant I've worked with or an attorney I've worked with in helping me with my business, it's those that have spent the time to teach me and to educate me and help me understand why we're doing what we're doing, that I've always connected with much better. And I've always felt a sense of confidence in working with those individuals because they took the time to get me to understand why we needed to do what we needed to do. And I think when you have a good understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you've got at least a basic foundation, it just gives you a level of confidence and peace of mind that we're all looking for when it comes to our money.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I've just always really connected with people that took the time to educate me. And that's something that I've wanted to return and give back to the community, and helping educate them in this complicated world of retirement. And quite frankly, it's not as complicated as what the industry makes it seem. The industry makes it a lot more complicated than what it needs to be. But what we've done at Secure Money Advisors, we've taken these very complicated topics and we've broken them down to very simple, easy to understand bites. And that really helps people. And I think, you know, we just see it with the feedback that we get at the office. You know, they'll say to us, you know, this is the first time somebody's taken the time to truly walk me through what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how these things actually work. And for the first time, I actually understand what we're doing. And so that means the world to us when we hear that kind of feedback.
Well, I love to hear that people feel that you're really taking your time, because how often have we all been in an appointment with whoever it is and they're looking at their watch and they're like, okay, where do I have to be in the next 20 minutes? But the feedback has been overwhelming that you're very patient with your client base, that they come in and they feel like you take as much time as needed with that specific person. So that's amazing that you are able to do that, because that is a gift.
Well, we do. I mean, for me, there's no point in rushing somebody out the door. You know, our focus is 100% on those individuals that we're sitting with at that point in time. They are the most important people at that office at that point in time. And the reason why we take on that, you know, that mentality at our office is because, again, you know, everybody needs a different level of understanding of what they've got. And some people's situations are more complicated than others. And so by taking that time, #1, it's because we care. That's the most important thing, is we truly care. I've always said to my team, there's no point in onboarding somebody as a new client if we can't truly impact their life. And so spending the time with the individuals to understand what their concerns are, what their goals are, where they're currently at. That's the most important thing, is because, you know, we're not in the business of just moving money to move money. We want to make changes that are truly going to have an impact on their situation. So by being able to do that, we have to understand thoroughly where they're currently at and what they're doing. And we've got systems in place to do that. And we've got very powerful software that analyzes where they're at, what risk level they're taking, what fees that they're paying. And we are able to really get a good understanding of where they are. And that helps us now make a better recommendation of where they need to go to improve their situation. Yeah.
Brian, what are some questions that people should be asking themselves about if they're ready to retire? What kind of questions do they ask you and themselves?
Yeah, well, that's a big thing because, you know, that's the emotional part of the retirement planning process, because some people are at a point where they're just ready to be done with what they've been doing for the last 35 or 40 years. They're just burnt out on that work. They're actually not ready to stop working yet. They just want to retire from what they're currently doing. We see that actually a lot. People will say, you know, I still have a lot of energy left. I still want to be out there and be a productive, you know, member of society, and I want to be able to do things, but I just don't want to do what I'm doing anymore. That's what you'll hear a lot of. But for those that really want to enter into retirement completely, it's really taking the time to find out about yourself and what you're going to become in retirement, right? Because your identity has been your work for so long.
Oh, sure.
So what's your identity going to be going into retirement? Who are you going to become? What is it that's going to keep you happy? Are you going to be the couple that wants to travel the world? Are you going to be the couple that wants to go see all the national parks? Are you going to be the couple that just wants to spend time with family and friends? And or are you going to be the you know, the full-time babysitter? which is a lot of.
Happen.
But for most people, you know, the emotional aspect of it, or the psychological aspect, is really that. What's going to be my new identity? What's retirement really going to look like? What's it going to be like when I wake up in the morning? Because you have to have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, you're going to die. Right? Let's just face it. You're gonna be bored and you're gonna die. And this is the stories you hear, right? Guy retires and 2 years later he dies because they haven't figured out how to continue to be a productive member of society. And so, and being productive could mean just traveling the world, right? But you gotta have a purpose, and that's really, really important.
Absolutely.
But the money part of it is, are you going to have enough money to maintain your lifestyle?
Yes, that's
right.
Key.
That's important, because if you look at retirement planning, you know, 30, 40 years ago compared to today, a lot has changed. And if you go back 30, 40 years ago, retirement planning was really simple because people retired and they got a pension, and they got a Social Security check. And for most people, that was enough money for them to maintain their lifestyle. And as a matter of fact, any additional money that they saved, they didn't even have to take risk with it. They didn't have to put it in the market, because 30, 40 years ago, the banks would all give you a CD paying maybe 10 to 15%, because yields were really great at the banks. So if you had an extra $100,000 or $200,000 laying around, you could go down to the bank, FDIC insured, right? Get a CD paying 10% interest. So let's say you give the bank $200,000 and they're giving you 10% interest. That's $20,000 a year in additional income above and beyond what you're getting in Social Security and pension. Today, what's happening is people are working for multiple employers. They're entitled to little or no pensions at all. And the grand experiment, and I call it the grand experiment because nobody knows how this is going to work out, is that employers replaced a guaranteed pension with a 401k plan, right? Retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans. We don't know how it's going to work out, because all of those plans only have options to invest your money in the market, which means that the market needs to cooperate 100% of the time for you to be successful. And a lot of folks today, that money that they have saved in those retirement accounts, that's where they're going to need to generate income from.
Absolutely.
So at Secure Money Advisors, what we do is we teach folks how to create their own private pension. Because that's more than ever, people need to still have a pension. We just have to do it on our own today. Right? So we always need, you know, for most people retiring today, they're going to have their Social Security check. But they're still going to need money above and beyond that to pay bills or travel or do whatever they want. So they need another source of guaranteed income. And we have to be able to carve off enough money from the money that they've accumulated in these retirement accounts to generate that other stream of guaranteed income.
Absolutely. So Brian, we're about ready to open up the phone lines for the very first time this week. Can you tell the viewing audience what they can expect to receive by being one of your first time
Absolutely.
callers?
Folks, matter of fact, for the next 10 callers, here's what we're going to do. We typically charge about $1,000 for this. We're not going to be charging $1,000 for this complimentary review. We're going to, for the next 10 callers, give you a complimentary financial review at no cost. And here's what we'll do. When you come in, we'll build a secure income report for you. And what we'll be able to determine is what sources of guaranteed income do you have. And that secure income report will show us how much additional income you'll need above and beyond, and we'll be able to build that out for you. We'll also do a risk analysis for you. We'll be able to determine what risk you're taking, what fees you're paying, if your portfolio is tax efficient. So again, for the next 10 callers, that's a complimentary financial review at no cost if you call 1-888-382-1298. Again, that's 1-888-382-1298.
Brian, we have to take a very short commercial break. To the viewing audience at home, please stay tuned. After this commercial break, we're going to come back with more questions and answers for Brian about planning your perfect stress-free retirement. We'll be right back momentarily.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to Retirement UTV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Brian Quaranta, otherwise known as Brian Q. He's president and founder of Secure Money Advisors. Brian, a great first segment of the show. So much really good information that you're giving out to the viewing audience.
Yeah, we try hard.
Definitely. And you do it well. Yeah. It seems effortless for you.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of the industry. And, when you work with retirees like we do on a day-to-day basis, all of our clients are, within 5 years of retirement or already retired. So the concerns that those individuals have are pretty much the same for everybody. So we're seeing the same issues over and over and over again.
Sure.
And because we're in it every day, we know the best solutions for all of these problems, whether it be Social Security or Medicare or trying to build an income strategy or reducing risk or maximizing returns, whatever it may be, we know the best practices for those specific issues because we deal with them day in and day out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Brian, you mentioned Social Security, and that's a very important topic. I know there's a lot of confusion about when to start taking the Social Security benefits. So can you shed some light on that to the viewing audience, please?
Yeah, there is a ton of confusion about it, right? And so Social Security is one of those benefits that most of us have paid into for 40 plus years.
Right.
And it's a government benefit that we're all entitled to. And obviously for most people, well, for everybody, you can start collecting as early as 62. And so people want to know, what should I do? Because if you collect at 62, all right, there's an actuarial reduction of your Social Security, meaning you'll only get about 75% of your full retirement amount Social Security. So on your Social Security statement, you'll see something called FRA. That's your full retirement age. And that usually for most people is 66, 67 in a few months, whatever it might be. So if you collect before that age, there's a reduction of how much you'll get. Now, if you wait to collect your Social Security, you collect it at your full retirement age, you'll get 100% of your Social Security. Now, If you want to wait until age 70, for every year you wait beyond your full retirement age, you'll get an 8% increase every single year.
Okay.
So that's pretty nice.
Yeah,
You know, there's
absolutely.
not a whole lot of investments out there today that you can get an 8% increase on every single year.
Sure.
However, when it comes to deciding what age to collect Social Security, the big question is, how's your health?
Yeah.
Right? How's your health?
That's true.
And I'll never forget, you know, there's a lot of information about when to collect Social Security, and there's all these strategies with delaying until age 70 and so on and so forth. But, you know, I remember having a gentleman come to my office and he said to me, I think I'm going to wait until age 70 to collect my Social Security. It just makes sense to me. He says, I'm going to get the maximum amount. And I said, well, I can't argue with the math. You're right. I mean, if you wait till 70, you are going to get the largest amount from Social Security. However, before you make that decision, let me ask you, how's your health? He says, well, I had a heart attack last year and I've got early onset of diabetes. And I said, well, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what the right answer is for this individual.
Sure.
It's probably best that he start collecting as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of different ways to maximize your Social Security. And of course, at Secure Money Advisors, we can show you how to do that. We've got a very powerful software that can figure out when would be the best time mathematically to collect your Social Security. But again, health plays a big role in when to collect that Social Security.
Absolutely. And I know that there's just been so much topic lately about, will Social Security go away? Brian, what is your opinion on that? Are we going to see it disappear?
Well, I think it would be I think it would be political suicide for any politician that would vote to take it away.
Right.
I don't think any baby boomer today or someone that's within 5 years of retirement is going to have to deal with Social Security going away. You know, we certainly have kicked the can down the road in solving this problem with how much money Social Security is going to be paying out versus how much it's going to be taking in.
Sure.
But I think there'll be other ways to solve the problem, like making the younger generation not be able to collect their Social Security maybe till 63 or 64, and making that early Social Security retirement age much later in life than at the age of 62. So I don't think for anybody retired today or who are going to be retiring in the next 5 years, I don't think they're going to have to worry about Social Security going away.
Okay.
I don't think we'll see as many cost of living adjustments as we might have seen in the past. But, you know, for most people that are collecting their Social Security, the cost of living adjustment, known as COLA, is kind of a joke to a certain degree, because every time your cost of living adjustment goes up, so does your Medicare premium.
Okay.
So it's pretty much a wash. But it actually going away and disappearing, I think we'd have tanks in the street if that happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People would be very
upset
with that. So I have a question for someone who's maybe in the viewing audience today, perhaps having a cup of coffee with their spouse.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be one of your clients, Brian?
Well, first off, they become part of our family, and we call them our family of clients because truly we know so many intimate details about their situation.
Sure.
And we get to know them, we get to know their family, we get to know their grandkids, because, you know, part of retirement planning, there's 5 key components to retirement planning. There's the income component of it, okay? There's also the investment component. There is taxes.
Okay.
There's healthcare, and then there's the legacy part.
Okay.
So at Secure Money Advisors, and it should be at the bottom of the screen as you're watching today, all of our clients get a physical written plan.
Okay.
And they get it all organized into one binder. And it's so important to have these financial documents organized, because if anybody out there listening to the show has ever been the executor of an estate, you know that because of all the stuff that needs to be done, if those documents have not been organized, it's very difficult to settle an estate. So we want to make sure that all of our clients have the ability to have everything organized in one spot, which we call their financial inventory binder.
So important.
And so not in that financial inventory binder, we have a summary of all of their assets, everything from their non-retirement accounts, retirement accounts, life insurance, long-term care, real estate. Then we have their master beneficiary page, who their primary beneficiaries are, who their contingent beneficiaries are. If they're working with a tax accountant or attorney outside of Secure Money Advisors, because we are full service, we provide all those services at Secure Money Advisors. But if they're working with an accountant or attorney outside of Secure Money Advisors, we have all of that information in there. And then we have a written explanation of the plan. what are we going to be doing? What are the objectives, and what are the solutions that we use to solve for the objectives? And how is the plan going to operate over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Hold that thought, Brian, because we're going to get ready to open up the phone lines. So speaking of the written plan,
yes.
Can you
speaking of a written plan, speaking of a written plan, you'll get one if you become a client of Secure Money Advisor. It is the most important thing that you can have. As a matter of fact, the best way you can start today, though, is if you're one of the next 10 callers and you call in right now, we are going to give you a complimentary financial review. And then part of that financial review is going to be a secure income plan where we'll actually determine what guaranteed sources of income you have and if you need to build any additional guaranteed sources of income, your own private pension. We'll also do a risk analysis for you. The risk analysis is invaluable because it will literally tell you how much risk you're currently taking, what the probability of success of your portfolio is, what fees you're paying, if you can improve, how you can improve. It just goes into a lot of depth of how to maximize your returns and minimize your losses. So again, for the next 10 callers who call in right now, that's a complimentary financial review. If you call 1-888-382-1298. Again, that's 1-888-382-1298.
Brian, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, that number to call once again is 888-382-1298. After this very short commercial break, we're going to come back with more questions and answers for Brian about planning your perfect retirement. Please stay tuned.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Retirement U TV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I am joined by Brian Q, President and Founder of Secure Money Advisors. Brian, sorry to cut you off there before we went to the commercial break.
I can get going.
Because I know you're so passionate about what you're speaking of, and I love that. I know the viewers do as well. So I have a question for you. Are you hearing a lot of people that would like to save their principal and just live off their interest, if you will? Is that a common question?
I think that is what most people want to do. I mean, if you ask most people, that's what they would love to do. They would love to get additional income off of their investments and not spend down their principal.
Okay.
If you really think about it, I mean, that's kind of the, that's kind of the fundamentals of what we all hope to do. And, going back to me talking about retirement, 30, 40 years ago versus today, 30, 40 years ago, that was simple. My grandfather had a Kirby vacuum cleaner store. You remember Kirby?
I do remember Kirby.
By the way, if anybody's listening, if you need any Kirby parts, my father, when my grandfather died, kept them all. My dad's one of those guys that thinks everything's going to be worth millions. But
yeah, he's probably right. We'll see him on Antique Roadshow.
That's right. Yeah, we'll have to get, what is it, American Pickers? Is it,
exactly.
Those guys, we'll have to get them to come out. But, my grandfather used to always take me down to the bank with him. And he would always tell me, Brian, you're going to work hard for your money over your lifetime. Remember, all you need to do is invest your principal and live off the interest.
Yeah.
And what he was really referring to when we were going to the bank is he was buying CDs. Because CDs then, again, were paying 10, 15%. So it was very easy to put your money in the bank and get a good income off of that money and not spend down your principal. Today it's much more difficult to do. It can be done. And in today's world, you can use something called a fixed annuity.
Okay.
And there's lots of different annuities out there, and there's some good ones and there's not some good ones.
Okay.
So you got to be very careful when you choose an annuity that you're choosing the right one. But if you want to make it as simple as possible, as plain vanilla as you possibly can, you can go out there today in the marketplace and you can buy a fixed annuity. Now they're going to range anywhere between 3 and 4% in interest. So, I had a gentleman that came in and he needed about $15,000 a year in income. That's what he wanted. So we took about $500,000 and he just bought a fixed CD. It's paying about 3.5%. So he's going to take his $15,000 a year in income off of his $500,000, but it's actually still going to grow.
Okay.
Right? Because 3.5% is going to give us much more than $15,000 a year in interest. So, so can it be done today? Sure, it can. Could it be done like we used to do it where we're getting 10 and 15%? No, but it can still be done if you need a small portion of retirement income. There's products available to do that. And that's the way that you really want to try to build your plan. Because I've always said, if you've won the game, if you've saved enough money and you can actually build your plan through guarantees where you can get interest coming in every single day and you can pull that money out and not affect that principal, that's the best way to build it.
Sure.
That's the best way to build it. So that's why you always want to figure out, have you won the game? Because if you have, and that's something we can teach you at Secure Money Advisors, mathematically we can show you whether or not you've won the game. And if you have, you should look towards a retirement that's as risk-free as possible.
Absolutely, and that's providing true peace of mind to your clients, Brian. It's like a security blanket, if you will, going over them.
It absolutely is. And this is why we'll spend the time with you when you come in, and we'll walk you through the process. And again, I've always said there's 5 key components. There's the income component, there's the investment component, there's taxes, there's healthcare, and there's the legacy part. We'll walk you through all of that. In a 45-minute to about an hour meeting, we will cover a lot of ground. And my team and I have very specific questions that we'll walk you through to help really start to build a very clear picture of what exactly you need. So, for the next 10 callers who call in right now, we are going to be giving away the complimentary financial review at no cost. And we'll build you a secure income report. We'll show you exactly how much secure income you've got coming in. If you need to build more money off of that, we can do that. We'll also do a risk analysis where we'll determine how much risk you're taking, what fees you're paying, and so on and so forth. So again, for the next 10 callers, that's a complimentary review if you call 1-888-382-1298. Again, that's 1-888-382-1298. For the next 10 callers, that's a complimentary financial review.
Thank you, Brian. To our viewing audience at home, thank you so much for watching Retirement U TV. It's a pleasure to spend time with you each week. We hope that you have a happy, blessed, and safe week ahead. Thank you again for watching. See you soon.